1. The myth of coincidence. Nothing happens by chance. We simply sleep before the order that sustains us. Welcome to this channel. Inspired by the thought of Alan Watts, we will delve into deciphering a mystery that sometimes worries us. Are coincidences inevitable? Does chance exist? Have you ever felt that something impossible happened only for you, a fortuitous encounter that changed the course of your life? A phrase overheard by chance that resolved a dilemma you had carried for years. Or a single glance, a song, a symbol that appeared at the precise moment you needed it most. Tell us, share what your experience has been. And if you're wondering, was it coincidence? Or did the universe just wink at me? Stay until the end. You'll find greater clarity about your own experience. Let's begin. Alan Watts used to say, "The universe doesn't happen to you. The universe happens as you." And in that single sentence lies the key to understanding why coincidence doesn't exist. Because if everything you live, your thoughts, emotions, relationships, and events, is part of the same fabric of consciousness, how could anything truly be accidental? When we call something a coincidence, what we're really saying is, I just don't yet understand how this fits. The mystery isn't in the event itself, but in our limited way of seeing it. We live convinced that the world out there is a stage separate from the observer. But Watts reminded us again and again, you don't come into the world. You grow out of it, as a leaf grows from a tree. If you are part of the tree, if your consciousness is an expression of the same cosmos that shapes the stars and the oceans, how could anything be foreign or arbitrary? Coincidence is merely the name we give to a connection we do not yet understand. From childhood, we're taught to see reality as a machine, a collection of separate parts bound by cold, impersonal laws. We grow up believing that life has no purpose beyond surviving, working, producing, and dying. Scientific thinking, valuable in many ways, gave us knowledge, but it stole our sense of meaning. We were told that consciousness is a biological accident, that the soul is a poetic illusion, that the universe is blind, indifferent, deaf to our prayers. And yet, when something impossible happens, when life seems to answer you, we feel a vibration in the chest that contradicts that story. An inner voice whispers, this can't be just chance. Watts, with his characteristic humor, would say that the problem isn't the universe but how we measure it. We confuse the menu with the meal, the map with the territory. We've become so accustomed to explanations that we've forgotten direct experience. And it's there, in that disconnection, where the illusion of coincidence is born. Imagine a fish that asks, "Where is the ocean?" All the other fish would look at him with compassion, unable to explain that the ocean is everywhere, even inside him. We do the same. We ask, where is God? Where is order? Where is purpose? And the universe silently replies, within you. Synchronicities are that reply made manifest as experience. They are not supernatural miracles. They are the natural structure of the universe when it's lived from awareness rather than control. When you release the need to understand, life begins to speak to you. And everything from the smallest to the grandest becomes symbol. But why is it so hard for us to accept this? Rational thought dissects, analyzes, separates. And though that's given us technology and progress, it has also fragmented the soul. Watts said, the ego is an illusion of separation maintained by the habit of thought. The ego is that voice that says, this happened to me or that was luck. But deeper awareness knows there is no me, and that there is only experience. When you witness a synchronicity, that encounter, that repeated number, that unexpected message, it isn't the universe sending signals from someplace outside. It is you yourself, from another scale of consciousness, creating a reminder that everything is connected. The universe isn't set a message arriving from beyond. It is an inner conversation projected outward, so you can recognize it. We live hypnotized by the idea of control. We want to control our emotions, our relationships, our outcomes, our destiny. But control is the great trap. Trying to control the flow of life is like trying to hold the sea in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it escapes. Watts would smile and say, trying to keep control is like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. The harder you squeeze, the less you have. When we release the need to control, when we accept the dance, synchronicities begin to appear naturally, not because they didn't exist before, but because we couldn't see them. That's not about forcing the universe to speak. This step's about learning to listen. Think of the most important moments in your life. Did you truly plan them all? Or were there invisible forces, chance encounters, necessary losses that guided your path toward places you could never have imagined? Watts observed, we can only understand life by looking backward, but we must live it forward. Synchronicity happens in that space between mystery and understanding. You can predict it, but you can recognize it. And when you do, something shifts, you begin to trust, to surrender to the flow. That surrender isn't passivity, but it's conscious participation. You stop fighting the river and begin to swim with it. And in that state, the universe ceases to seem like an indifferent chaos and reveals itself as a living intelligence, a perfect dance between form and emptiness, between you and what you thought was not you. But here the inevitable question arises, what if all this is merely interpretation? What if seeing synchronicities is just seeing patterns where none exist? Watts would answer with his characteristic irony, the problem isn't that you see too many patterns, but that you see too few. Even the most rigorous science admits that everything is energy vibrating in relationship. Atoms aren't separate. Galaxies aren't disconnected. Nothing is isolated. The difference is that when you look from consciousness, that web isn't a theory, it's a living experience. Seeing synchronicities isn't superstition, it's sensitivity. It's recognizing that reality runs deeper than appearances, that behind every event there's an echo, a reflection, an intelligence that can't be measured yet can be felt. Watts explained it with a perfect metaphor. The universe is a game in which what you are within is reflected in what you see without. And when you see it clearly, you laugh, because you realize it was always you. You laugh, not because it's a joke, but because you finally perceive the cosmic joke, that everything you sought outside was always within. Synchronicity is the universe's laughter at the exact right moment, the wink of the whole saying, yes, I see you. And for an instant you see yourself too, not as an individual lost in a meaningless world, but as a perfect expression of something vast dancing within itself. That instant, when you recognize the connection, is what the mystics called awakening. The moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this showing me about me? That's the doorway into conscious synchronicity. Coincidence doesn't exist. Only the symphony we ignore when we're not present. The universe isn't testing you, but reflecting you. And every time something strange happens, when something resonates in an unexplainable way, it's not chance. It's the fabric of life reminding you that you're inside the web, not outside it. Or as Watts would say, you are an aperture through which the universe looks at and explores itself. And when you truly look, only clarity remains. 2. Synchronicity and the game of the universe. Life doesn't happen to you. Life happens with you. Most people live believing that events occur randomly, as if reality were a chessboard where the pieces move without direction, obeying only chance. But what if it's not like that? What if behind every event, behind every apparent coincidence, there existed a subtle intelligence weaving the threads of all that happens? Alan Watts said the fundamental mistake of Western thought is assuming we are separate from the universe. We imagine we came into this world instead of seeing that we came out of it as a wave comes out of the sea. If that's true, and it is, then every experience we live, every encounter, every circumstance is part of an organic design arising from wholeness, not from accident. Synchronicities are the evidence of that wholeness interacting with itself. Life isn't set happening to you. Life is responding to you. Think about the moments when things seem to flow naturally. You meet the right person at precisely the right time. The opportunity you said been waiting for appears just as you were about to give up. A book lands in your hands and contains exactly the words you needed to read. Can you really call that coincidence? Or is it possible that reality is far more participatory than you were taught to believe? Watts said, "There is no observer separate from the universe. The same energy that makes a flower bloom is making you sit here, listening. That energy isn't outside you. It's the current of existence expressing itself through endless forms. And you are one of those forms aware of itself. So when the universe seems to speak to you, it isn't set speaking from the sky or from some fixed destiny. It's speaking from within you, from the portion of the whole that you are now recognizing itself. Imagine reality as a mirror. Every thought, every emotion, every intention projects an image onto that mirror. When you're in inner harmony, the reflection shows beauty, fluidity, opportunity. When you're in chaos, the mirror faithfully shows that too: obstacles, confusion, noise. Not because the universe punishes or rewards, but because it simply responds with perfect accuracy to your state of consciousness. Synchronicity, then, isn't something that happens to you. It's something that reflects you. Watts explained it this way: the outer world is the inner world seen from another angle. If you want to understand your synchronicities, stop looking outward. Begin observing your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs. Whenever something repeats in your life, a number, a kind of person, a recurring situation, it's not the universe mocking you. It's repeating a lesson you haven't fully seen yet. Life is a patient teacher, and synchronicities are its language. Most of us were taught to ignore that language. From childhood, we were trained to trust reason over intuition. We were told, that's just coincidence. Don't overthink it, everything has a logical explanation. But logic, though useful, can never embrace the mystery. Watts said, trying to understand the universe only with the rational mind is like trying to catch water with a net. Logic can describe how the currents flow, but it can't tell you why the ocean sings. The universe isn't set a mechanism to be decoded. This sits a dance to be lived. And synchronicities are the music of that dance. The oldest spiritual traditions already spoke of this. In Taoism, they say life flows through the Tao, the invisible current that moves all things effortlessly. When you're in harmony with the Tao, existence arranges itself without friction. Western thought might call it good luck. Taoist thought calls it wu wei, action without struggle, action in rhythm with the whole. Watts translated wu wei as swimming with the stream of life. It's not about passive surrender, he said, but about realizing that you are the current and that fighting it is fighting yourself. When you live in that state, synchronicities become frequent, not because you magically attract them, but because you stop resisting the natural flow of things. Coincidence disappears when separation disappears. Even modern science is beginning to sense this truth. Quantum physicists discovered that subatomic particles don't behave like isolated objects, but as interconnected patterns influenced by the consciousness of the observer. The mere act of observation changes the outcome. If Watts had witnessed that, he would have smiled and said, "At last science is beginning to catch up with mysticism." This means reality isn't fixed, it's fluid. There's no clear line between what you think and what occurs. Your attention, your intention, your emotion are active forces within the fabric of the universe. That's why when you change your inner state, the world's response changes too. The universe is like an infinite orchestra. Each of us is an instrument playing our unique note. When we tune our vibration, when we live with presence, clarity, and coherence, the symphony sounds harmonious. When we stutter out of tune, the noise multiplies. But the orchestra never stops playing. We simply need to learn how to listen. And how do you learn that? Not with more effort, with more awareness. Watts said that life isn't understood through struggle but through observation. Only when you stop trying to figure out the current do you begin to feel its direction. Start by noticing the patterns that repeat in your life. What kinds of situations do you return to again and again? What themes reappear in your relationships, in your choices, in your emotions? Those are the echoes of your energy. Synchronicities appear to illuminate the point where your consciousness is ready to expand. Every sign is an invitation, not to believe in miracles, but to recognize the order that's already there. There's Sep's Zen story Alan Watts loved to tell. A farmer loses his horse. The neighbor comes over and says, "What bad luck?" The farmer replies, "Maybe." Days later, the horse returns bringing 3 wild horses. The neighbor exclaims, "What good luck?" The farmer again, "Maybe." Later, the farmer's son tries to tame one of the wild horses and breaks his leg. The neighbor cries, "What misfortune?" The farmer says, "Maybe." Soon after, the army arrives to recruit young men for war. The farmer's son is spared because of his broken leg. The neighbor says, "What luck?" And the farmer once more, "Maybe." Watts used this story to show that the universe doesn't operate in terms of good or bad. The order behind things isn't moral or linear, it's organic, shifting, and only reveals itself in perspective. Synchronicity works the same way. When something happens, you may not grasp its purpose right away. But with time, the pieces fit. And you see that what once looked like accident or misfortune was part of a perfect geometry. Life is speaking to you constantly. The problem is that almost no one listens. Listening doesn't mean hearing voices or frantically hunting for signs. It means being present, fully. Watts said, "You're under an illusion when you believe there's any time other than now. Everything that happens, happens now." Synchronicities appear when you are truly in the present. Because only from the present can you notice the pattern. Only from stillness can you see movement. The universe doesn't shout, it whispers. And to hear it, you must quiet the noise of your mind. Ask yourself, how many times has the universe shown you something you ignored out of fear or doubt? How many times have you felt a strong intuition and dismissed it, only to realize later it was right? Those are synchronicities too, only misunderstood. When life shows you a direction again and again and you resist, the patterns grow louder, not to punish you, but to wake you up. Watts summarized it wisely. Suffering is the way life pushes you to see what you've been avoiding. Every stumble, every repetition is a message. When you finally hear it, the cycle stops. When you ignore it, the cycle repeats until your awareness recognizes it. The universe doesn't stutter. It is infinitely patient with your awakening. Understanding this isn't about faith, it's about perception. You don't need to believe there's Sep's magic in the air. You only need to watch carefully. You'll see how everything begins to arrange itself in ways impossible to deny. People appearing precisely when you need them, opportunities rising from nowhere, the exact words at the exact moment. And most importantly, you'll see how your inner state is the catalyst for it all. When you're aligned with who you truly are, life responds with flow. When you drift from your truth, life feels forced, heavy, confused. Synchronicity is instead a rare phenomenon. It sets the natural condition of an awakened mind. Watts said that enlightenment isn't a miraculous event, but the recognition that you're already immersed in the miracle. Waking up doesn't mean becoming something else. It means realizing you were never anything but the whole itself. In that state, synchronicities cease to be special things and become the normal rhythm of living. Each day, each gesture, each person is part of the living web of the universe moving with you. When you live like this, you no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What part of me is expressing itself through what's happening?" Then even challenges become messages. Even pain becomes teacher. And life itself becomes a conversation between you and the infinite. 3. The awakening of unity. When you stop looking for signs, you become one. Most people search desperately for signs from the universe. They look for messages in the sky, answers in cards, numbers to confirm their choices. But Alan Watts, with a calm smile, would say, "The trouble with looking for signs is that you forget you are one yourself." The universe doesn't need to speak to you in mysterious codes. It's already doing so through you. Through your thoughts, your emotions, your movements, your encounters. You are the channel through which the whole expresses itself. True awakening doesn't happen when you understand synchronicities. It happens when you realize that you yourself are the synchronicity. When you begin to live from that awareness, reality changes texture. Things stop being things and become processes. You stop seeing objects and begin to see relationships. You stop seeing coincidences and begin to see conversations. Watts said, "The universe is not made of things, but of events, of processes that are all the same process, looking at itself from different angles." You are one of those angles, a perspective through which the universe contemplates and recognizes itself. And when you recognize this too, separation dissolves. There is no longer a me observing the world, there is only the world observing itself through you. That is what it means to live in synchronicity. Not to control, but to flow with the whole. Not to resist the current, but to feel its direction. Not to interpret everything as approval or punishment, but to see it as part of a continuous dance. In Watts's words, the meaning of life is simply to be alive. It is so plain, so obvious, so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. Living in harmony is not an esoteric practice. It's remembering what has always been true. You are not separate from existence. What you live is not happening out there, and each instant contains the totality of the universe. Imagine for a moment that life is a vast ocean of consciousness. Every thought, every emotion, every action is a wave. Some waves are tall, some are small. Some crash, others merge silently. But none are separate from the sea. You are that wave. And synchronicities are the moments when you remember you always have been. Fear disappears. Control dissolves. And in its place arises a deep calm, an unshakable sense of belonging. You no longer need to search for meaning because meaning is everywhere. You no longer need to understand life because you are living it. Watts used to say, "Stop trying to live life and let life live through you." When you allow that, miracles stop being exceptions and become your natural state. Life becomes light, precise, effortless. Opportunities appear, not because you chase them, but because you flow in the same direction they do. And if at any moment you doubt, if your mind whispers, "This can't be real," remember that doubt too is part of the flow. Even confusion is perfectly placed within the tapestry of your awakening. Everything has its place. Everything has its rhythm. Synchronicity is nothing more than the heartbeat of that invisible perfection. The great paradox is that you cannot force this state. You cannot decide, "I'm going to live in synchronicity." That would be like saying, "I'm going to relax while clenching your fists." It doesn't work. Harmony arises when you stop trying to manipulate life, when you drop the wheel and let the wind carry you. Then the current shows you exactly where you needed to go all along. Watts said, "When you let go of what you think you are, you discover what you have always been. That you lives in connection, without fear, without struggle, without separation." Living awake doesn't mean living without problems. It means knowing the problems are part of the choreography, that even chaos has purpose. Synchronicities aren't signs to escape pain. They serve as invitations to understand it. Every event, pleasant or painful, shows you a part of yourself asking to be seen. So don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What is this trying to show me?" That question changes everything, because you stop feeling like a victim of life and become its conscious participant. The ancient traditions already knew this. Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism all said the same thing in different languages. The universe is not a collection of things, but a living whole, a dance without beginning or end. Suffering arises only when you forget you are part of that dance. Alan Watts translated that wisdom into modern, undogmatic language. There is nothing to attain. You are already home. The game is to remember. And when you remember, synchronicities multiply, not because you're manifesting, but because life itself is celebrating you. This is saying, "You have awakened. You know you have always been here." Sometimes that awareness arrives in silence, sometimes with tears, and sometimes with deep laughter, because you finally understand the cosmic joke. None of this was ever a coincidence. Everything, every person, every mistake, every love, every loss, was the exact part of your path of recognition. Life didn't push you. It accompanied you. And the universe didn't speak. It listened. It was doing so all along, only now you can hear it. And so we reach the essential point. There is no outside guiding you. There is only the infinite reflection of your own consciousness, finding its way within its own dream. When you understand this, you free yourself from the need for signs, control, and fear. You see clearly there is no other pulling the strings. You are the weaver, the thread, and the tapestry itself. Then you can laugh, as Watts so often did, with that laughter full of compassion and wisdom, and say, "Ah, of course. I was this all along." The universe doesn't conspire in your favor. The universe is you. It doesn't send you messages because there is no distance between the sender and the receiver. There is only pure communication between the whole and itself. Synchronicity is that wordless language. When you see it that way, you no longer need to look for signs. You simply live. And in every breath, every meeting, every silence, the universe will speak to you with your own voice. So next time something impossible happens, don't say, "How strange." Say, "There you are." Because that moment doesn't come from chance. It comes from the whole remembering itself through you. There is no coincidence. Only consciousness. And before closing, Watts would leave a question hanging in the air, like a breeze awakening the mind without offering an immediate answer. If you are the universe playing at being you, what story are you telling the world right now? If something you've heard here resonated with you, don't ignore it. There's no coincidence you arrived at this moment. Perhaps this is one of those synchronicities reminding you that you are on the right path. Share this message if you feel someone else needs to hear it. Leave your story in the comments. What has been the most powerful synchronicity you've ever experienced? And if this reflection helped you see with greater clarity, subscribe and keep exploring with me, because the journey is just beginning. The moment you start listening to the universe, you'll discover it has always been speaking to you in the most intimate language of all, your own existence.